Hello kids, in the previous video we have done the First World War. I believe that you must have an idea about the First World War now. So today I'm going to conduct the Second World War. In this video, let's discuss the causes and the results of the Second World War. The Second World War was a global war that lasted from 1939 to 1945. After 2 decades of the end of the First World War, another World War was started. Actually, this destruction has started mainly because of the power struggle of the powerful countries in the world. But almost the whole world had to pay the price for it with their lives. My dear kids, there's nothing in this world happens without a reason. So, at first, let's see the reasons caused for the Second World War. In here, I'm giving them in brief, and let's study them in detail then. Activities of Adolf Hitler in Germany, activities of Benito Mussolini in Italy, weaknesses of League of Nations, and aggressive policy of Japan were main factors which led to the Second World War. Okay, can you guess who is this? Yes, as we all know, this is Adolf Hitler, who marked a black point in the world history. His activities was a major reason for the Second World War. After the Versailles Convention, Germany had to pay a vast compensation, and there was a world economic demise in 1929. Because of this situation, the unemployment rate and the price of goods was increased in Germany. As Democratic Weimar Republic couldn't find a solution for this situation, Adolf Hitler came to power with the support of other members of the parliament in Germany. Here I'm mentioning some of activities of Adolf Hitler in Germany. Actually, Adolf Hitler was a dictator and he spreaded Nazism. In here we must know what is Nazism. What is Nazism? Actually, Nazism which emerged against democracy, communism and capitalism. It was a political system that was based on party dictatorship, and Adolf Hitler mentioned this Nazism in his book Mein Kampf. Once he got the power in Germany, he abolished all political parties and started killing his opponents such as communists and Jews with his secret police forces, and he disturbed democracy. What is democracy? Simply, democracy is republic of people. But Adolf Hitler abused and disturbed democracy in Germany. He abused mass media completely for his advantage. The freedom of press, freedom of meeting, and freedom of expressing ideas were completely banned. And he promised of a noble Germany to the Germans at that time. He told about a pure blood, and that is why German people also supported Adolf Hitler. Western capitalist countries like Great Britain, France, America, they also didn't oppose Hitler because they were happy about the destruction caused to communism by Hitler. Actually, at that time, there was a struggle between communism and liberalism. In the lesson of Industrial Revolution, I told you, as a result of the Industrial Revolution, liberalism and communism has started in the world. So there was a struggle between these two concepts. Here, when Hitler is killing communists, then Western countries did not oppose Hitler's activities. But after some time, Adolf Hitler quitted League of Nations, which was an organization which was organized to maintain peace in the world after the First World War. And he invaded so many countries in the world. Actually, he invaded Austria, which was a neighboring country of Germany, in 1938. And he invaded Sudetenland and Czechoslovakia. He invaded Poland in 1939. And it was the recent incident which caused to the Second World War. Hitler, he had established concentration camps and got millions of innocent people killed in those camps. And still, the world can remember this destruction in the Nazi concentration camps. After some time, Hitler invaded Norway, Denmark, Holland, and Belgium. And then he attacked Russia with no any clear reason, but it was failed. And in May 1945, he committed suicide in Germany. My dear children, after a war, there should be a win-win situation, because then only both parties can be satisfied. But after the First World War, the peace pact signed after the war were not profitable for Italy and Germany. So that is why, again, unemployment, food shortage, and several economic problems were started in Italy too. Benito Mussolini, who exploited this situation and captured political power through fascist political party in 1922. He also had a secret force called Black Shirt Army. And like Hitler did, he also started a dictatorship in Italy. Mussolini gathered all internal powers into his hand, and he spreaded fascism with the support of Hitler in Germany. In 1936, Mussolini invaded and captured Abyssinia of Africa, which is known as Ethiopia today, and he joined Hitler in the Second World War and improved fascist power. But at the end of the Second World War in 1945, he lost his life. Another reason for the Second World War was the aggressive policy of Japan. Here I am going to mention about that. Japan, it's an Asian country. Japan came forward as a developed nation in 19th century. Can you remember why the British came to Sri Lanka? Of course, they had colonies because they wanted to find raw materials for their productions and a market to sell their products. As well as that situation, Japan also started to invade the Asian countries to find raw materials for their production as well as find a market to their products. But European nations, they never liked this situation. In 1934, Japan invaded Manchuria in northern China and captured it. And it resigned League of Nations. Then Japan captured several harbors and cities of China. And it was just like the behavior of Hitler and Mussolini in Europe. And this behavior of Japan affected Asia in religion. Developed developed country in Asian region. They wanted to control Asia. Actually, Japan captured British colonies in Asia like Singapore, Malaysia, Burma, Hong Kong. And also that it captured countries like Java, Sumatra and Philippines. But it couldn't control or gain power in Ceylon and India. But Japan bombed Colombo on 5th April in 1942 and Trincomalee on 7th April 1942. Because of that, Great Britain, it suspected Japan, but fortunately there was no battle between those two parties took place in Ceylon. But however, after these incidents, Western countries like America, Great Britain, France, they started attack Japan. However, finally, the first atomic bomb in the world history was dropped on Hiroshima on 6th August 1945. And after 3 days, 9th August 1945, they attacked and they dropped another atomic bomb to Nagasaki. Those two cities were destroyed, and still people are suffering because of this atomic bomb. Actually, this is just like a turning point of the world history, because after this incident, nuclear power, that word nuclear power, was increased in the world. Now, most of the countries have this nuclear power. USA, Great Britain, India, Pakistan, North Korea, Russia, China, those countries have this nuclear power. And one atomic bomb is more than enough to destroy a whole country and destroy the world. So this marked a beginning of a destruction in the world. But however, after these attacks, Emperor Hirohito of Japan agreed to surrender to the Western countries under no conditions. Okay, here I am mentioning the parties of the World War. There are two main parties, Axis powers and Allied powers. Axis powers, actually Germany, Hitler. As I mentioned earlier, when Hitler invaded Poland, that was the beginning of the Second World War. So Germany was an Axis power. So when Hitler attacked or invaded Poland, Britain and France joined together and attacked Germany. So Britain and France, they became an allied power against Germany. And Mussolini in Italy, he supported Hitler. So that Italy was also an Axis power in the Second World War. And Japan, under Emperor Hirohito, they also acted as an Axis power in the Second World War. But on the other side, Britain, France, USA, Russia, they acted as allied powers against the Axis powers in the Second World War. But however, allied powers won the Second World War. Okay, now I'm going to discuss the expansion of the Second World War. As I mentioned earlier, Hitler invaded Poland, and this was the beginning of the Second World War in theory. When Hitler invaded Poland, Britain and France declared war against Germany, but Germany defeated Poland within 4 weeks, and Hitler captured Norway, Denmark, Holland and Belgium and the city of Paris too in 1940. After this, Mussolini also joined the war with Germany, and both Italy and Germany went into an agreement. So as a result of the agreement, after capturing France, Germany took France into his hand. Because of this, the British, they built a war against Germany. Actually, at that time, Winston Churchill was the Prime Minister of Great Britain, and he considered the defeat of France as an insult to Great Britain, and that is why he built a war against Germany with the support of British colonies such as Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, India, and Ceylon. And after that, in this situation, USA, United States of America, also supported Britain a lot. Okay, let's see how the USA joined to the Second World War. Actually, I told you earlier, in the aggressive policy of Japan tried to build an empire in Asia. But at that time, there were a lot of colonies of France and Great Britain in Asia. So that was a threat to build a German empire in Asia. So, Japan also wanted to have colonies in Asia. And that is why Japan bombed the American Navy camp in Pearl Harbor on 7th November in 1941. So after this situation, the American President Franklin Roosevelt declared war against Germany, and Germany and Italy, they joined their hands with Japan and declared war against America. So up until now, this war was limited to Europe, but now Japan, that means Asia, and USA also joined to the Second World War. So that makes a world war then. After that, Hitler decided to invade Britain using his air force and commanded them to bomb British airports and cities. But Hitler failed in this mission. So as the record says, British Air Force dropped about 56 German aircrafts. So Hitler gave up that idea to attack Britain, and he understood the power that the Great Britain possessed at that time. Okay, my dear children, what do you know about Russia? Actually, Russia, it's a developed and powerful country in Asia. Once Napoleon Bonaparte also attacked Russia, but he also was defeated in that war because Russia was a powerful country from that time. But Hitler also wanted to invade Russia. But he also faced the similar loss like Napoleon Bonaparte. In this invasion, German forces had to face a long winter season, and they never faced such kind of a season. And that is why severe coldness, food shortage, diseases caused many deaths among German forces, and Hitler was unsuccessful in this invasion. However, if there's a beginning, there must be an end. So we are coming to the end of the Second World War. After Hitler invading Russia, the Allied forces, that means French, American and British forces, they launched attacks from the Western Front to Germany. They reached Germany by March 1945 and came to Berlin by May. And that is why Germany surrendered with no conditions in May 1945, and Hitler committed suicide. As I told you earlier, Japan captured British colonies like Singapore, Malaysia, Burma, and Hong Kong. And they captured other countries in Asia like Java, Sumatra, and Philippines. And they bombed Colombo and Trincomalee Insular. And that is why USA attacked Japan. That means Hiroshima and Nagasaki using atomic bombs. And that is why Emperor Hirohito of Japan agreed to surrender under no conditions in 1945. Okay, my dear kids, so let's go to the results of the Second World War. Actually, as a world war, so there was a huge destruction. Millions of people were died of this Second World War, as the record says. More than 50 million people died in this war. The loss of property and wealth cannot be valued. And however, allied parties, that means Great Britain, America, and France, they won this world war, and they defeated Germany, Italy, and Japan in the Second World War. So these are some two main results of the Second World War. So one another main result of the Second World War is usage of atomic bombs was started. Actually, with the attacks to Hiroshima and Nagasaki, atomic bombs dropped to Japan, and in this way nuclear power was increased in the world and it affected political, economic situations in a country. And one another result of the Second World War is rise of USA and Soviet Russia, and a Cold War was started in the world. Actually, what is this Cold War? In the Second World War, they started and they used weapons. But in a Cold War, that is a weaponless war. And they used strategies. Instead of weapons, they used spy services. They established different organizations. They launched 8 programs. And they got the support of the countries in the world. So that is just like 2 camps. Okay. America always gave their support the countries who are supporting capitalism and liberalism. And the Soviet Russia, it was the main camp of socialism. So China, they joined to Soviet Russia. Great Britain, France, those countries joined with USA. So in this way, Cold War started in this world. And USA becomes the savior of democracy. So the Soviet Russia became the protector of socialism. So the world was divided into 2 camps based on 2 concepts called liberalism and socialism. As a result of the Second World War, there was a change in the world power, in the positions of world powers. England and France, they lost their position in world power, and USA and Soviet Russia became powerful in the world politics. Establishment of UNO, otherwise the United Nations Organization. It was a major result of the Second World War. UNO was officially started in 24 October in 1945 to maintain international peace and security, to develop friendship among nations in the world, to get international assistance in confirming human rights and independence. And it is the largest and the most powerful organization in the world until today. And Sri Lanka also is a member of UNO, So we can talk about the UNO in the next chapter. However, introduction of Marshall Plan by the State Secretary of USA John Marshall was the main reason of the Second World War. And this Marshall Plan was a aid program to uplift the devastated, defeated countries in Europe. Anti-colonialism. It is also a result of the Second World War. Before talking about the anti-colonialism, we must know what is colonialism. Actually, colonialism is simply can be defined as keeping colonies. Like Great Britain, Sri Lanka and India were colonies of Great Britain. Australia was a colony of Great Britain. But I told you, England and France, they lost their power after the Second World War. So they could not bear the expenditure for these colonies. So that is why these Western nations, they started anti-colonialism or releasing colonies and giving the independence of colonies. So as a result of that, 1947, India and Pakistan got the independence, and in 4th February 1948, Sri Lanka received the independence. So that is why anti-colonialism also was a result of the Second World War. Non-alignment movement. It is also a main reason of the Second World War. Actually, what is non-alignment movement? Alignment. What is an alignment? Alignment is being in one side. So I told you, after the Second World War, there were two camps in the world. Liberalist camp and Socialist camp. Liberalist camp headed by USA, Socialist camp headed by Soviet Russia. So some countries in the world, they did not want to join either of these liberalist or socialist camp, but they wanted to get the support of both camps. So what these countries did is starting a new movement as non-alignment movement. So in theory, they didn't support capitalism or socialism, but both parties helped these countries. Okay, let's see what are these countries. Actually, this non-alignment movement established in 1961, and one of the main character in establishing this movement is Sri Jawaharlal Nehru, who was a late Indian Prime Minister. And Sri Lanka also is a member of non-alignment movement. In the times of Sirimao Bandaranaike, we joined to non-alignment movement. And the president of Yugoslavia, Marshal Tito, and the Egyptian president Abdul Gamal Nasser also worked hard for this organization. Okay, in this page you have to do some activity. So fill the following table and write an article to a newspaper on the topic of let us contribute to protect the world's peace. So in here you need to introduce what is world peace and what were the obstacles for the world peace. So in there you can say about the First World War and the Second World War, and then you needs to say and mention how can you contribute to protect the world peace in your level and in national level and international level. What are the steps can be taken to maintain the peace and harmony in the world. Okay, that's a picture. Okay, let's see who can identify this. Okay, this is a monument of erected in memory of the children of Jews who were tortured and killed under the cruel leadership of Hitler in Nazi camps. And This symbolizes the death of innocent people in that time. Okay, thank you very much for listening to me. So work hard and do your studies well. Thank you once again.